In high school, the boys in my class mocked me for having large breasts, calling me Big Thunder Girl. And my best friend didn't hesitate to cut ties with me. She blinked her innocent doe eyes and said, "But many girls with big chests just don't respect themselves. And you dress like this. Are you deliberately trying to seduce people?" So, in the year of purest spite, I seduced the top student she secretly had a crush on. Before gym class, I slumped over my desk and said lifelessly to the class sports rep, "My stomach hurts. Please get me excused." Only after all my classmates left the classroom did I lower the hand, clutching my abdomen, and sit up expressionlessly. I hated gym class. I hated the damp wind, the sticky sweat, and, most of all, those leering, shameless stares. In the last gym class, we practiced 50-meter sprints. As I crossed the finish line, several boys by the track were staring straight at me. Ethan Zhang, the ringleader, nudged his classmate and said, "Big Thunder Girl was bouncing so hard when she ran." "What's that kind of jiggle called again?" His voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough for me to hear clearly. I almost instinctively hunched my shoulders and bent forward. I was a late bloomer, and when it finally came, the development was swift and overwhelming. After developing, I lost my name. Big Tits Girl became my new nickname. Every break between classes, Ethan Zhang and his gang of boys would huddle together. They'd stare at me while cracking vulgar jokes. They said breasts grew bigger from being groped, that girls with big chests were sluts. These words roared into my heart, telling me large breasts represented promiscuity, filth, and impropriety. I hated these damned lumps on my chest, and I hated that bastard Ethan Zhang even more. I desperately wanted to confront him, but this topic carried an innate shame that sealed my lips. I could only look at the circle of girls sitting by the running track, yearning to belong, but they unanimously avoided my gaze. To them, I was the sacrificial lamb pushed out from the flock. As long as I drew their fire, the other sheep would remain safe. For now, I refused to give up and waved at a girl with twin ponytails in the crowd. "Luna Luo, wanna pair up for sit-ups later?" Seeing this, a boy teased, "If you become besties with Thunder Girl, will you turn into Thunder too?" Ethan Zhang replied, "Possible. After all, birds of a feather flock together, and people are divided by thunder." They burst into raucous laughter. Flustered, "Luna," Luo retorted, "No way. Leo Lee and I aren't best friends. I'd never become like her." Luna Luo had transferred here half a year ago. Because her voice resembled the high-pitched, jazzy tone popular online, she initially struggled to fit in. When she was being excluded, I was the one who befriended her, accompanied her to the cafeteria, and helped her integrate. We'd pass notes during lectures, sharing girlish secrets, then exchange knowing smiles. Back then, she'd said to me with sparkling eyes, "You're my best friend." Now, she'd drawn a clear line between us. Without hesitation, I was completely isolated. I lowered my lashes and turned to fetch a barbell from the equipment room, planning to use it to anchor my feet for sit-ups later. As I bent down, another round of gasps rose behind me. Someone lamented, "Too bad we can't bring phones to gym class. Otherwise, I'd copy Ethan Zhang and snap a photo too." That shot was seriously wild. "Cut the crap," Ethan Zhang interrupted. "Let's go practice pull-ups." Crossing the empty classroom, I stopped at Ethan Zhang's desk. Ethan was the physics TA, outwardly cheerful and diligent with solid grades. He was a teacher's pet, but in private, he was an absolute scumbag. From his desk cubby, I fished out a scrap paper titled 10th grade homeroom 3 Thunder Thighs ranking. The first line glaringly listed my name, Leo Lee, D+. Clenching my jaw against the urge to shred the paper, I snapped a photo with my phone for evidence. Next, I pulled Ethan's phone from the same cubby. The screen lit up, revealing the lock screen photo. The photo captured a girl's profile, set against the backdrop of library shelves. The angle of the shot was unsettlingly peculiar, as if someone had crouched behind the bookcase, shooting upwards. In the frame, a girl in a plaid skirt uniform stood on tiptoe, reaching for a book on the higher shelf. From the low-angle shot, the hem of her uniform rode up, revealing a glimpse of her pale waist and the lavender edge of her bra. This was a photo secretly taken of me. I wasn't mistaken. Ethan Zhang, that despicable creep, had indeed been spying on me. I clenched my teeth, my chest heaving violently. When was this photo taken? Who else had seen it? Were there even more invasive photos besides this one? Rage, disgust, shame, terror, a storm of emotions surged through me. How revolting. Scumbag. Absolute scum. Ethan Zhang. That vile voyeur. Suppressing nausea. I snapped a photo of the lock screen and began attempting to unlock the phone. I knew that these pieces of evidence alone were far from enough to completely ruin Ethan Zhang's reputation. Over the past few days, I'd been observing Ethan's password gestures closely. I should be able to figure it out. Yet, after multiple attempts, the screen only displayed 4 words. Incorrect password. Did Ethan change the password? Frustrated, I shoved my phone into my pocket. I pulled out Ethan's textbooks and workbooks, then scrawled voyeur in bold red marker across every cover. Gym class was the last period of the day. The dismissal bell rang. I stuffed Ethan's books back and slung my bag over my shoulder, ready to leave. At the stairwell, I bumped into someone, Luna Luo. Despite just finishing gym class, she was already wearing her jacket, sweat beading on her forehead from the heat. When she saw me, her doe-like eyes flickered with innocence, as if she wanted to say something, but I didn't give her the chance. Stone-faced, I brushed past her without a word. From the moment she drew the line between us, she became a traitor. While I despised scum like Ethan Zhang, Luna Luo's betrayal cut even deeper. The fact that I only plotted revenge against Ethan Zhang, not Luna Luo, was my final act of mercy toward our friendship. I lived in the South Side District. After my parents died in an accident, Nana and I barely scraped by on the insurance money, living frugally. Though the South Side District was dirty and chaotic, its proximity to school and cheap rent made it bearable. I turned the key and called out, "Nana." Instead of Nana, a greasy, overweight middle-aged man emerged from the kitchen. The uninvited landlord, Mr. Thompson, clenched a half-smoked cigarette between his teeth and jingled a massive keyring. "I told your Nana I'd come to check the gas meter today." After noting the reading, Mr. Thompson swaggered toward the door. Before leaving, his gaze lingered on my chest. How you've grown, little girl. Truly, a girl changes 18 times before womanhood. That gaze was so familiar it made me sick, as if a brazen tongue was licking my skin, sending shivers down my spine. I immediately clutched my coat protectively to my chest. I'd seen Mr. Thompson lovingly cradle his youngest son and gaze at his wife with adoration. Did his wife and child know he'd leered a girl like this? In public, he was the picture of a devoted husband and father. So, why did he only show me that disgusting expression? After Mr. Thompson left, I leaned against the security door, hating, not for the first time, the body puberty had given me. The next morning, I slapped the alarm clock, forcing my eyes open with murderous determination. Yesterday, I'd taken Ethan Zhang's phone. I'd spent half the night guessing passwords, but still couldn't unlock it. Furious, I dug up Ethan's most unflattering class photo and posted it on Reddit, posing as his parent to ask if he could be a child model. At this moment, I opened Reddit, seeing the flood of criticism in the comments. I finally got out of bed with satisfaction. A boiled egg sat on the dining table, and the porridge in the kitchen was still warm. Nana had already gone out. Despite her age, she couldn't stay idle and loved collecting bottles and cans to sell as scrap. Yawning, I walked along the path to school. As I passed by a narrow alley, I stopped. There was a stray calico cat in this alley. I called her Mimi, holding a hot dog. I made clicking sounds with my tongue as I stepped into the alley. Unlike usual, there was an extra cardboard box in the alley. The box had a hole cut into it, lined with a few old uniforms. Had some kind soul built Mimi a shelter? Meow. A faint kitten's cry came from inside the box. I leaned closer, then widened my eyes. Inside the box was a litter of tiny, multicolored mittens. Humming a tune, I walked into the classroom in an unusually cheerful mood. Ever since Ethan Zhang led the isolation against me, I became a warrior of pure hatred at this age of supposed pure love. I hated school, hated the morning exercises, hated gym class, hated my own body, but I would always love kittens. Kittens never looked at me with strange eyes. Their gaze was only for hot dogs. As I pondered how to nourish Mimi, who had just given birth, I suddenly noticed the classroom was eerily quiet. Confused, I looked up and saw many classmates staring at me with odd expressions. Someone said, "Leo Lee, Coach Ban wants to see you in the office." I pushed open the door to the teacher's office. The middle-aged, balding Coach Ban was rubbing his thinning hair with a troubled expression, and Ethan Zhang stood opposite him. Seeing me enter, Ethan immediately pointed at me. "Teacher, yesterday's last period was gym class, and Leo Lee was the only one who didn't attend. It must have been her who stole it." Even though I had evidence of his secret photos, Ethan actually had the nerve to accuse me. Looking at Ethan Zhang's resentful face, I flashed a sweet smile. "Oh, then tell me, what exactly did I steal? Ethan Zhang, what shady things are you hiding?" Since I dared to take Ethan's phone and scribble over all his books, I wasn't afraid of him making a scene at all. If he stayed quiet, he'd just have to swallow the loss and explain to the teacher why he couldn't submit his homework. If he actually dared to report me for stealing his phone, that would be my chance to force him to unlock it right in front of everyone. Ethan stared at me, his lips curling into a smile I couldn't decipher. Earlier, the physics teacher had me collect 5,000 in book fees to buy practice exams. The envelope with the money was left inside my desk. Now it's gone. You must have stolen it. I froze. Book fees? When I went through his desk yesterday, I never saw any envelope with money inside. I denied loudly. "You're lying. I didn't steal anything." Coach Ban hesitated as he looked at me. "The surveillance system just happens to be under maintenance. But besides Ethan Zhang, someone else confirmed you were the only one in the classroom yesterday afternoon." Following his gaze, I saw Luna Luo sitting in the corner. At that moment, Luna was anxiously twisting the hem of her clothes with both hands. Seeing everyone looking at her, she swallowed hard and whispered, "I was the first one back in the classroom yesterday." At the time, I ran into Leo Lee as he was about to leave. Her expression was unnatural, and she definitely had something hidden in her pocket. My mind buzzed. Ethan Zhang and I argued back and forth, almost coming to blows in the office. He never mentioned losing his phone, insisting only that his $700 in book fees was missing. Coach Ban couldn't determine who was lying and decided to table the matter for now. He said, "I'll cover the book fees this time, but I'll also keep investigating." He looked at us sternly and added, $700 is enough to file a police report within a month. If the student who took the money has a change of heart, they can come to me privately and admit their mistake. Don't let this lead you down the wrong path." Ethan Zhang and Luna Luo left one after another, leaving me standing alone in place. Coach Ben asked, "Leo Lee, is there something else you need?" My heart pounded like a drum. Should I tell this middle-aged educator the whole truth? Last time, I casually mentioned to Coach Ban how Ethan Zhang kept staring at me and making inappropriate jokes. And what did Coach Ban do? He laughed heartily, saying teenage boys just act that way to get girls' attention. He said Ethan was a cheerful guy with no ill intentions and told me not to take it seriously. He even pointed out that physics was my weak subject, while Ethan excelled at it, suggesting I seek his help. If I told Coach Ban now that I suspected Ethan took indecent photos of me and that I stole his phone to preserve evidence, would he really stand by me? The leering gaze of Mr. Thompson flashed before my eyes, and the crude jokes from the boys echoed in my ears. I didn't dare take the risk. Lowering my head, I heard my own voice say, "It's nothing, teacher." All day, I was distracted. Luna Luo passed me several notes, but I crumpled them into balls and tossed them out the window. By the time school ended, the sky was overcast with dark clouds, and rain had already begun to fall. I didn't have an umbrella. Around me, classmates either left in pairs under shared umbrellas or were picked up by their parents, while I could only curse the world. This whole school is a pile of dog shit. Everyone here is trash, and those damn clouds are just moldy cotton balls. "Leo Lee," suddenly, a familiar voice called from behind me. I turned and glared coldly at Luna Luo. She held a folding umbrella, her doll-like face deliberately stern. Back when Luna first transferred here and was caught in the rain without an umbrella, I had been the one to share mine with her. This damn traitor. She really owed me a lot. I stared at the umbrella in Luna's hand, considering the possibility of snatching it and running. Luna moved closer and whispered, "Why did you throw away my notes?" I snorted coldly. "Because you're a disgusting traitor. You'd rather believe that scumbag Ethan Zhang than trust me. I hate you all to death." Luna Luo widened her eyes. "You!" She glared at me, grinding her teeth. "Lioli, you're truly beyond saving." And here I was, seeing you without an umbrella, thinking of walking you home. Ethan Zhang and the others were right. You deliberately wore that altered uniform to seduce people before, and now you're even stealing money. As she spoke, Luna's eyes reddened. "Why can't you have just a little self-respect?" Her emotions flared, her voice turning shrill. Curious glances from classmates around us made my skin crawl. Luna really outdid herself. Now, on top of being Thunder Girl, I've earned the title of thief too. Hatred festered in my heart, and I longed to tear that yapping mouth of hers apart. "Traitor. Damn traitor." Furious, I shouted, "Luna Luo, that's bullshit." Before she could react, I shoved Luna hard. Caught off guard, she fell to the ground. The umbrella slipped from her hand and rolled away. I strode forward, picked up her umbrella, flung it into the trash bin, then turned and dashed straight into the pouring rain. The rain grew heavier. All I could hear was the sound of rain and the clamor of my own heartbeat. When I passed that narrow alley, I paused, hesitated for a moment, then turned into it. In the downpour, the cardboard box holding the little mittens had long since collapsed. The box had nearly dissolved into pulp, leaving only a soggy, dirty mess on the ground. Where were the kittens? Where had that litter of mittens gone? In such heavy rain, could newborn mittens even survive? Only then did my eyes finally sting with unshed tears. Damn this wretched world. Trash slandering me, friends betraying me, teachers doubting me. Fate took my parents in a rainy night car crash, and now it wants to take the kittens too. I hugged my knees and curled into a ball in the pouring rain, beginning to tremble uncontrollably. Suddenly, the rain seemed to stop. A shadow fell over me. I looked up and saw a tall figure silhouetted against the light. The person stood beside me holding an umbrella. He asked gently, "Classmate, are you looking for a cat?" The dimly lit hallway, I stared at the box of adult and kitten cats, momentarily dazed. The slender, upright boy closed his umbrella and said, "This morning's weather forecast said it might rain heavily in the afternoon." So I asked Aunt Lee on the first floor in advance to temporarily move this litter of kittens into the hallway. Watching Mimi affectionately rub against his fingertips, I shivered. By then, I was soaked through, my white uniform clinging tightly to my body, faintly revealing the color of my skin beneath. Embarrassed, I lower my head and cross my arms. Just as I was thinking of an excuse to flee, the boy suddenly took off his uniform jacket. The next second, a jacket scented with lavender laundry detergent was draped over my shoulders. Under the dim hallway light, I finally got a clear look at his face. Pale and refined, gentle and scholarly, with an inexplicable familiarity, he leaned in to drape the jacket over me, then quickly stepped back. The entire time, he kept his head slightly turned and his gaze lowered, maintaining a perfectly measured distance. I blurted out without thinking, "Why? Why are you turning your head away?" I still remembered how Ethan Zhang had stared shamelessly at me when I accidentally spilled water on my chest last time. The boy paused before answering, "Because my mom said I shouldn't stare at a girl when she's feeling awkward." It suddenly dawned on me. So Ethan Zhang wasn't just a jerk. He was also motherless trash. I tightened the jacket around me and caught sight of the name on the collar, Sophie Song. Then it hit me. Along the path from the school gate to the teaching building, there was a Hall of Fame wall. Sophie Song. That name always appeared at the top of the Hall of Fame. I secretly studied the boy before me. So this was the legendary academic god who consistently ranked first in science subjects. But there were no photos on the Hall of Fame wall. Why did he look so familiar? After a moment's thought, it finally came back to me. Back when Luna Luo and I were still friends, I'd once caught her secretly looking at a photo on her phone. The photo showed a boy playing basketball. I teased her then. Oh, does little Luna have a crush? Luna's face had flushed crimson. Don't say nonsense. It's just a one-sided admiration. He's my idol. He plays basketball so well. But he's so aloof. I can't even find a chance to bring him water. Though I'd only glimpsed it briefly, I remembered clearly. The face in that photo was unmistakably Sophie Song's strikingly handsome features. So, this was the aloof idol Luna had secretly admired. Unconsciously, I let a delicate, pitiful smile surface. Gratefully, I said, "Thank you. I'm Leo Lee. What's your name?" Friday afternoon, I splurged on several bottles of water from the school store and headed toward the basketball court. The sidelines of the court were packed with enough people to feed over 200 Hannibals. I didn't understand basketball at all. It wasn't until the crowd erupted in cheers that I realized the blue team had won. With my uniform jacket slung over one arm and a bag of water bottles in the other, I walked over to the blue team. Sophie Song, want some water? Hearing my voice, Sophie turned her head slightly in surprise. After a brief hesitation, she took the water from me and said, "Thanks." Relieved, I quickly handed her the jacket I was holding. "I washed your uniform. Here you go." As Sophie took the jacket from me, the other players' eyes darted curiously between us. I pulled out the water bottles and handed them out one by one. Watching her teammates' increasingly amused expressions, Sophie calmly explained, "This is Leo Lee. He's a friend." At that, a guy with spiky hair drawled, "Oh, so it's a new friend. We won the game today and made new friends. Captain, won't you treat us and our new friends to some milk tea?" Amid the teasing, Sophie Song reluctantly agreed to foot the bill. As the basketball team crowded around me and we left the court, I instinctively glanced back. In the crowd, Luna Luo stood frozen in place, her face pale, the water bottle in her hand crushed out of shape. Not far away, Ethan Zhang glared at me with fury. His face was twisted with jealousy, ugly as an age-old injustice. If Luna was heartbroken over Sophie Song, then why was Ethan so enraged? The sheer possessiveness in his eyes sickened me, and that cryptic lock screen image flashed before my eyes again. Lost in thought, I turned away and rejoined the basketball team's laughter. Through deliberate effort, my life and Sophie Song's gradually began to intertwine. Classroom during break. As I tidied my desk, someone suddenly called out, "Leo Lee, someone's looking for you." I turned to look at the back door of the classroom and indeed saw a slender, upright figure standing there. Some girls whispered among themselves, "Is that Sophie Song, the valedictorian? What's she doing here?" Instinctively, I glanced in Luna Luo's direction. She was resting her head on the desk, though I couldn't see her face. I noticed her fingers clenched so tightly they turned white. I stood up and walked toward the back door. As I passed Ethan Zhang, I accidentally bumped into his desk, knocking it askew. Under Ethan's fierce glare, I strode confidently towards Sophie Song. Sophie handed me a notebook. "Here, my physics notes." Since I'd mentioned struggling with physics, Sophie had lent me her notes. Now, she carefully pointed out the numbered labels in the bottom right corner of each notebook's cover, explaining that the one at the bottom was a collection of advanced problems. Taking the notebooks from her, I hugged them gratefully to my chest. "Thank you. I really don't know how to repay you." Before Sophie could respond, I tilted my head and had a sudden idea. "Do you also often feed the stray cat in the alleyway? How about this? Next time we'll go feed the cats together. I'll bring an extra hot dog for you." When I returned to my seat, satisfied, the curious gazes of my classmates nearly drowned me. Someone couldn't resist asking, "You actually know Sophie Song?" I smiled and said, "Yes, we're friends." The buzzing whispers grew louder, as if puzzled how someone like me could be friends with Sophie Song. A bold classmate leaned over to flip through Sophie Song's notes, then exclaimed in awe, "No wonder she's a top student. Even her handwriting is beautiful." The notes were written in neat, elegant script, truly a reflection of her character. I tucked the notes into my bag and shyly praised, "Well, Sophie, she's really kind. Unlike some people, Sophie is very gentlemanly and polite. Not only is she academically brilliant, but she's also great at basketball, And thanks to her, I feel like I'm finally starting to grasp physics. Under the envious stares of my classmates, I lowered my lashes. From across half the classroom, Ethan Zhang continued to glare at me with venomous hatred. Hearing my comment about Sophie Song, Ethan's eyes darkened as he muttered a curse under his breath. From the shape of his lips, he called her a slut. On campus, I made a habit of lingering near the court to catch glimpses of Sophie. Off campus, we team up to feed stray cats together. Sophie had adopted a little white kitten. We took portrait shots of Mimi and 3 other kittens, posting them online to find them homes. Sophie asked if I wanted to adopt the little black one. She said, "Xiaohei really likes you." I rolled my eyes playfully. How about this? Let's make a bet. If I rank in the top 50 during midterms and make the Hall of Fame, I'll take him. After a thoughtful pause, she smiled and nodded. All right, I'll foster Xiaohei for you in the meantime. And so, Sophie began quietly tutoring me during evening study breaks. Everything seemed to be moving in a positive direction, thanks to Sophie's relentless efforts. My physics grades improved by leaps and bounds. When the monthly test results sheet reached my hands, my first instinct was to look for Ethan Zhang and Luna Luo's scores. Seeing both their names ranked below mine, I couldn't help but let out a smug chuckle. With my weakest subject, physics, now improved, my class rank hit an all-time high, 73rd place. Ethan Zhang, upon seeing the results, slammed his desk in frustration. Bang! The sound of his fist hitting the desk felt like celebratory fireworks heralding my victory. During physics class that day, the teacher singled me out for praise. Leo Lee has shown remarkable improvement in physics this time. Despite struggling with the subject, he never gave up. Everyone should learn from his perseverance. As for some other students, don't let strong fundamentals make you complacent. Though his words weren't directed at anyone, the class's gazes drifted knowingly toward Ethan Zhang. At that moment, Ethan's face turned as sour as the giant stone used to weigh down winter pickles. His face flushed crimson, like an overinflated red balloon. After school, I took out my phone and found several unread messages. The messages were from an unknown number. Their content shocking. Does Sophie Song know you're the shameless behind her back? Does she know you're a thief? In the photo, I was wearing a short uniform skirt. The photo was taken from above, only capturing my shorts, yet it still carried an unsettling sense of voyeurism. Very few people knew my phone number. I could guess who was on the other end with my eyes closed. I replied expressionlessly, "What do you want?" "Don't you dare do anything reckless." The reply came quickly. After evening self-study, the woods behind a cafeteria. Bring what you stole. If you don't show up, face the consequences. I rarely skipped evening self-study, but today was an exception. At home, I did my homework while pleading with that number in a panicked tone. "Please, don't send out those photos. I'll obey. Please don't tell Sophie Song." When the appointed time came, I slung my empty backpack over my shoulder and trudged slowly toward the cafeteria. I dragged my feet as I walked toward the woods, only to be immediately grabbed by a pair of large hands and yanked into the dark thicket. The woods were remote, with only a few dim streetlights along the outer edge. The person shoved me against the rough bark of a tree, making me hiss in pain. In the flickering shadows, I saw a face full of malice. My voice trembled. "Ethan Zhang, what do you want from me? Can't you just leave me alone?" Seeing the fear in my eyes, Ethan Zhang sneered. "Oh, so you're allowed to seduce others, but I can't deliver justice? You must be so proud, clinging to the valedictorian, huh? If it weren't for my study materials being on the phone you stole, do you really think you could have outscored me?" When I stayed silent, his smug expression deepened. Ethan Zhang cleared his throat. "Let me warn you, if those photos from the phone get leaked, at worst, I'll just apologize, but your life will be ruined for good." "Where's the phone?" I stammered. "The phone, it's gone." "Gone?" Ethan Zhang's eyes widened in fury. "What do you mean it's gone?" My face crumpled with tearful regret. "I was just so angry at the time that I stole your phone. I was too scared, so I smashed it and threw it away." Ethan stared at me dumbfounded before shaking his head with a bitter laugh. "You girls are so stupid. Don't you know there's this thing called Google Drive? What good does smashing the phone do? I can just download everything again anytime. I blinked tearfully, my expression a mix of confusion, regret, and guilt. Ethan pondered for a moment, his expression shifting from anger to reluctant acceptance, then finally to quiet relief. He muttered under his breath, "Then, consider that $700 as compensation for my phone." I lower my head, eyes widening slightly, so he did take the money. Through the scattered light, filtering through the leaves, I suddenly spoke. "Ethan, do you like me?" For a moment, Ethan's expression went blank. I continued, "You've always paid so much attention to me, always singled me out. You set my photo as your lock screen. You don't want me to interact with Sophie Song. It's all because you like me, isn't it?" If seeing that lock screen only gave me a vague suspicion before, when I noticed how intensely he opposed me getting close to Sophie Song, I knew beneath Ethan Zhang's malice lay different feelings. In the end, he wanted me, but couldn't face the fact he wasn't worthy, so he wanted to ruin me instead. "Why, you're talking nonsense." Ethan Zhang instinctively stepped back. "I just genuinely like Dale. That's all." I scoffed inwardly, but put on a desperate expression. "Could you return that $700? And those photos, could you delete them?" Before Ethan could process it, I grabbed his wrist first. "In exchange, since you like would you settle for touching me instead?" Even in the dim light, I saw Ethan's face flush crimson instantly. His gaze flickered, breath ragged. "Why, you'd really let me?" At this hour, nearly all the teachers and students had already gone home. Even the security guards only patrolled the classrooms to check locked doors and windows. No one would come to this dark patch of woods. I whispered, "Okay, but I'm shy." "Close your eyes." Ethan Zhang's gaze wandered between my face and body. He kept glancing at his toes, then at the woods outside, struggling for a long time before his lower head finally won over the upper one. He said, "Fine, let me touch your thunder, and I'll agree." With that, he closed his eyes, his cheeks flushing red, looking both ridiculous and ugly. I grabbed his right wrist and slowly guided his hand toward my body. When his hand was close enough, my other hand swiftly pulled out the phone from my pocket and pressed the screen against Ethan Zhang's right thumb. A barely perceptible vibration came through. Fingerprint unlocked successfully, having rehearsed this countless times in my mind. My movements were quick and steady. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Ethan Zhang still had his eyes closed, unaware of what was coming. When I drove my knee hard into his lower abdomen, he let out a pained scream, curling up like a boiled shrimp as he collapsed to the ground. I pulled out a spray bottle filled with pepper spray from my backpack and doused Ethan Zhang's face without mercy. Amid his agonized cries, a vindictive smile spread across my face. I kicked Ethan Zhang a few more times, cursing with each strike. "You bastard. You're nothing but a bastard. Big Thunder. Big Thunder. Since you love calling breasts thunder so much, why didn't the milk you drank as a baby blow you to pieces?" Ethan Zhang's face was streaked with tears and snot, his eyes squeezed shut. "Leo Lee, how dare you? Don't you like Sophie Song? Aren't you afraid I'll send everything to her if you keep this up?" I scoffed. "Why should I be afraid? You still don't get it, do you? The only reason I got close to Sophie Song in the first place was because she's Luna Luo's crush." I stared down coldly at Ethan Zhang, who now lay like a pile of worthless trash. "Ethan Zhang, your affection is truly repulsive. You can't even bear to see me happy, destroying what you can't have. Every time I went to see Sophie Song, you were seething with jealousy, weren't you? If I hadn't used Sophie Song to provoke you, you wouldn't have exposed yourself so quickly. If you want to destroy someone, first drive them mad." From the moment Ethan Zhang glared at me and Sophie Song leaving the court, my interactions with her were no longer just about revenge on Luna Luo. Ethan Zhang lay on the ground, panting heavily and trembling slightly, as if struggling to process everything. I turned to leave, but after only a few steps, I spotted a tall figure outside the grove. The name slipped out before I could stop myself. "Sophie Song?" Just then, Ethan Zhang's muffled laughter rose from the ground behind me. "Ha ha ha. Leo Lee, didn't see that coming, did you?" Ethan's voice dripped with malice. I didn't just invite you. I brought Sophie Song too. He arrived just as you let me touch you earlier. Ethan chuckled darkly. Leo Lee, you're finished. I stepped out of the grove. Under the dim light, Sophie Song's usually gentle face was uncharacteristically cold. Before I could discern whether there was disappointment or disgust in Sophie's eyes, I saw her lips part slightly as if to speak. I immediately cut in first. I'm sorry. I bowed to her, then turned and ran. I jogged along the deserted main quad. My ears throbbed with the clamor of my own frantic heartbeat. After tonight, as expected, Sophie Song and I should be completely over. She now knew I was a scheming opportunist who would stop at nothing to achieve my goals. That even my initial approach had ulterior motives. Perhaps I should have felt remorseful or guilty, but on the contrary, all I felt was exhilaration and wild joy. Ethan Jong had slandered me as a shameless schemer. He'd even orchestrated things so Sophie would witness me at my worst. Certain I'd have no defense. But why should I have to prove myself? All I needed was to prove Ethan Jong was an utter scoundrel. Then all his smears would collapse on their own. Now, as I flipped through the thousands of photos in his phone gallery, my entire body trembled with excitement. So, what if I lost Sophie Song? Today, Leo Lee, am going to personally destroy that bastard Ethan Jong. Remembering that Sophie Song was still nearby, I ran while furiously slapping my own face. Shut up, damn mouth. Hold it in. Forget it. There's no holding it back. The silent campus was finally filled with my venomous, triumphant laughter. After returning home, I photographed and documented each of Ethan Jang's phone pictures one by one. Just as I expected, the subjects in the photos weren't just me. There were other female classmates, even female teachers, from our class, other classes, ones I knew, ones I didn't. Every photo was taken from an angle laced with subtle malice, and none of the subjects had any idea they were being photographed. Back when Ethan Jong led the charge to isolate me, not a single one of these people spoke up. Little did they know, their silence didn't just fuel my suffering. It also allowed the abuser's reach to grow longer and longer. These photos didn't just come from the camera album. Many were manually saved by Ethan Jong. This meant, besides Ethan Jong, there were other voyeurs. They even shared them with each other. Disgusting. Damn voyeurs. I tried my best to stay calm as I sorted the photos into categories. Then, I pulled up the grade chat on my phone. The group included the dean, homeroom teachers, and all the students in our grade. If I sent these photos to the grade chat now, no matter how silver-tongued Ethan Jong was, no matter if the teachers wanted to shield him, he would inevitably be disgraced and condemned by everyone. Yet, just before hitting send, I hesitated. The feelings I had when first seeing Ethan Jang's phone lock screen resurfaced. After some thought, I exited the grade chat and opened my personal contacts instead. I worked tirelessly through the night. I sent the sorted photos privately to each corresponding victim. After sending the last photo, I checked the time, 5 a.m. I rubbed my sore neck and was about to take a shower when suddenly there was a knock at my door. I opened the door to find Nana hesitating at my doorway. Sweetie, have you been under a lot of academic pressure lately? Nana wakes up at 5 a.m. every day to prepare breakfast for me before going out to collect bottles. Perhaps she noticed my room light was still on, which made her worry. I paused for a moment. Yeah, I missed a test paper yesterday, so I woke up early to finish it. I put on my jacket to cover the red marks Ethan Jong had left on my wrist. I smiled and said, "Don't worry, Nana, I know my limits." Concern lingered in Nana's cloudy eyes, but she nodded and left after a few words of advice. I let out a sigh of relief. Many who suffer from bullying and isolation are asked the same question: why do they pick on you and not others? I've asked myself that too, and the answer is simple: because they're certain I won't fight back, certain that even if I do, no one will stand up for me. I lost both my parents, and my family was struggling financially. Even at PDA meetings, it was always my elderly Nana who showed up. Slut-shaming would choke me by the throat, while my family background would pin me down by the ribs. They assumed I had no umbrella over my head and no path behind my back. That's also why I didn't hesitate to take Ethan Zhang's phone back then. With no one to back me up, I had to gather evidence and fight back on my own. If Nana found out her little girl was bullied without consequences, she'd lie awake at night, heartbroken. I wanted Nana to sleep soundly every night. I took a quick shower and dragged myself exhaustedly into bed to catch up on sleep. It felt like I'd barely closed my eyes when the alarm blared. Groggily silencing it, I grabbed my phone, only to see 99 plus unread messages. The class president had created a girls-only group chat for Class 3. Now, the chat was in absolute chaos, messages flooding faster than diarrhea. Everyone was furious and fired up. Some suggested submitting to the campus confession wall to ruin Ethan Zhang's reputation. Others wanted to report to the teachers, while some argued it'd be better to let parents handle the matter. Truth be told, unauthorized photography has always existed in a legal gray area. If the incident isn't escalated, it'll most likely be downplayed until it disappears altogether. Amidst the sea of unread messages, a star-shaped avatar kept popping up. It was Luna Luo. She excelled in Chinese literature and cared deeply about maintaining good relationships, so she'd patiently explain any Chinese homework questions to anyone who asked. But she never expected that while she leaned over the podium explaining a problem, Ethan Zhang would raise his phone to capture inappropriate angles through her collar. Last night, I removed her from my block list and sent her the photos. I'd assumed she'd blocked me long ago too, but to my surprise, the messages went through. Now she called me multiple times and sent 5 full screens worth of emotional texts. With an expressionless face, I exited her chat window, shouldered my backpack, and left for school. When I arrived, the classroom entrance was already surrounded by a crowd of furious parents. A hot-tempered parent slammed a fist against the classroom's metal door. Who the hell is Ethan Zhang? Facing the towering, furious parent who resembled a Russian brown bear, Coach Ban was sweating bullets as he tried to maintain order. Everyone, calm down. Let's talk this through rationally. A group of parents erupted in curses. We send our daughters to this school so some little punk could take indecent photos of them? Bring out the instigator. Make him kneel and apologize. Disgraceful little. If the school tries to sweep this under the rug, we'll report it to the school board. Tell them this institution corrupts students. While Coach Ban was still pacifying parents at the front door, shouts suddenly erupted from the back. We got him. The crowd turned to see several parents wrestling with a disheveled boy, Ethan Zhang. Terrified by the mob outside, he tried sneaking out the back door, only to be caught red-handed by waiting parents. In the chaos, fists and kicks flew indiscriminately. By the time Coach Ban finally pushed through the crowd, 2 bright red handprints had already bloomed on Ethan Zhang's cheeks. Across the seething crowd, I locked eyes with the disheveled Ethan from a distance. I flashed him a saccharine smile, mouthing the words slowly and deliberately. Trash. Ethan deciphered my silent insult. Wheezing heavily, he turned away with an expression twisted by fury, hatred, regret, and, most satisfyingly, fear. The commotion grew so severe it summoned Principal Miller. Ultimately, the principal and parent representatives debated through the entire afternoon. One by one, involved students were called into the office and released. Back in the classroom, girls clustered around my desk as I narrated events, with artistic liberties. Naturally, like how I'd heroically beaten Ethan in the woods last night to force him unlocking his phone. They gazed at me with worshipful eyes, as if I'd transformed overnight from public enemy to class hero. When my tale ended, silence settled over the group. The class president said somewhat sheepishly, "Leo Lee, thank you. We owe this to you." And about what happened before, I'm sorry. I knew she was referring to when Ethan Zhang led the others in isolating me, and they chose to protect themselves by turning a blind eye. One by one, the girls mumbled their apologies to me. I stayed silent for a long time before finally waving it off with feigned nonchalance. It's fine. It's all in the past. If you really want to thank me, be my friends. I added with a smile. I've been a bit short on friends lately. I used to be very particular about boundaries. After this incident, I realized how important it is to get along well with most of my classmates and blend in, seeing my relaxed attitude. The class president sighed in relief. Great, we're all good friends now. From now on, we won't let anyone call you that disgusting nickname again. A boy nearby muttered under his breath. What's wrong with Big Thunder? It's a compliment. The class president slammed the desk. How is that a compliment in any way? Having a great figure is a compliment. Being beautiful is a compliment. Big Thunder is just a word you use to insult people. I noticed your nose hairs are quite long. How about we call you Nose Hair Monster from now on? After school, Coach Ben called me into his office alone. Coach Ben told me that the evidence I provided was thorough. Ethan Zhang admitted to secretly photographing female classmates and embezzling the book fees. But his parents insisted that the photos weren't Ethan's own idea. He was influenced by shady individuals in online group chats, which led him to make such a grave mistake. The school didn't want to escalate the matter, but the parents of the photographed students demanded accountability. After discussions, the school decided to expel Ethan Zhang. Honestly, this outcome exceeded my expectations. I looked into it. Most school voyeurism cases end with repeated educational talks and eventual reconciliation, even in severe cases. State law only imposes up to 10 days of detention and a fine under 500 yuan, so expulsion was already a favorable result. Coach Ban wearily rubbed his balding head and suddenly said, Leo Lee, you mentioned before that Ethan often made jokes at your expense. At the time, I didn't take it seriously, thinking it was just a harmless prank. My duty is to educate and guide, but I failed to properly teach 10th grade homeroom 3. Because of that, you suffered bullying, yet didn't dare to trust your friends or seek help from your teachers. He stood up and bowed solemnly to me. I owe you an apology. I'm sorry. I've let you down as your teacher. Coach Ban promised to speak privately with the boys who were close to Ethan Zhang, vowing to completely eradicate the toxic class culture. As I was about to leave, Coach Ban said to me, Leo Lee, you're very brave. But if anything like this happens again, try to trust your teachers and classmates. I hope one day, 10th grade homeroom 3 won't disappoint you anymore. I walked out of the teacher's office, only to be cornered by Luna Luo right outside the door. Her expression was tinged with hurt. Leo Lee, you've been avoiding me all day. I glanced at her and strode away. I'm not avoiding you. I just don't want to talk to you. She reached out to grab my hand, but I shook her off without hesitation. Luna Luo froze for a moment before quickly catching up to me. A head shorter than me, she panted slightly as she chased after me. I'm sorry, I was being stupid earlier, believing Ethan Zhang's nonsense. Are you still mad at me? Didn't you see the message I sent you this morning? I suddenly stopped walking. Luna couldn't brake in time and crashed into my back from the momentum, letting out a pained yelp. Why do you always take things for granted like this? I asked softly. Is it because I didn't have many friends before, so you thought I'd forgive you as long as you showed some kindness? Luna seemed startled by my cold expression. She stammered, I've already apologized, and I'll try my best to make it up. I cut her off. Luna, some things can't be made up for. Luna choked up, her large eyes turning slightly red. But you forgave the class president and the other girls? Why won't you forgive just me? I sighed, because when you first transferred here, I was the first one to talk to you. Luna Luo, I reached out to befriend you when you were at your most vulnerable, but when I needed you most, you chose to betray me. I stared directly at Luna Luo, feeling an unprecedented calm. Luna Luo, traitors don't deserve forgiveness. Luna Luo ran away sobbing. After her figure disappeared down the hallway, I opened my phone and reread the long messages Luna had sent me early this morning for the second time. On the screen, Luna had rambled on at length. In somewhat incoherent words, she explained to me she came from a single-mom household. When she was little, a very shapely aunt had stolen her father away. After that, her mother developed a strong aversion to women of that type, and Luna was left with childhood trauma as well. Luna was the type to cling stubbornly to her beliefs. She had believed Ethan Zhang's detailed rumors and feared becoming the next bullying target, so she chose to cut ties with me, though she swore oaths and promised to make up for her mistakes. The harm she'd done to me was already irreversible. Perhaps her conservative and rigid mindset wasn't her original sin, but her childhood trauma doesn't justify her hurting me as if it were natural. Once, she was my only friend, but from now on, I'll have many friends. After Ethan Zhang dropped out, my life returned to normal. After that night, I never contacted Sophie Song again on my own initiative. On one hand, I felt like I owed Sophie an explanation. On the other hand, there was nothing to explain. I had used him. So what? After overcoming countless hardships, I finally achieved my revenge on my own, becoming the righteous avenger in many people's eyes. Of course, I was grateful for that umbrella in the rainy night. But even if I could do it all over again, I would still choose to use Sophie Song. We remained distant for a while, but surprisingly, it was Sophie who eventually broke the ice. Watching Sophie hand me the latest physics notes, I felt a pang of bitterness in my heart. He said, Xiao He is still waiting for you to make it into the top 50, so you can take him home. I was speechless. Truth be told, I had lied to him about this too. The tiny, run-down apartment we rented didn't allow pets. Mr. Thompson was strict about it, but thinking about my barely improving physics grades, I hesitated for a moment before taking Sophie Song's notes. Whatever. I'd already lied so much. What was one more time? I forced a stiff smile. Thanks. I'll do my best to find the kitten a home. Friday after school, with my backpack slung over one shoulder, I passed by the court and noticed an unusually large crowd gathered at the sidelines. Was there some big game going on? I moved closer to see, only to spot Luna Lua there, completely unexpected. She stood with her head bowed in front of Sophie Song, her hands clenched tightly at her sides. The onlookers buzzed with speculation. What's going on here? No idea. A confession? No way. Sophie doesn't even accept water from just anyone. Who's that girl? She's got guts. I squeezed through the crowd with difficulty, making my way to the team members who were silently spectating. When Spike saw me, his expression turned oddly wary. I was genuinely curious. What the hell is this about? Spike hesitated for a moment before finally telling me. This Luna Luo is from your class, right? She's here to apologize. I narrowed my eyes. Apologize? From their overlapping explanations, I pieced together what had happened. Earlier, when I started frequenting the court, Ethan Zhang had gotten in some nasty ideas. Unable to get Sophie Song's contact info, he'd secretly slipped notes into her bag during games. Luna Luo had seen him plant the notes and knew their contents, but she kept silent, never telling a soul. Spike looked awkward. Those notes were just spreading rumors about you. The captain never believed them, so it wasn't really a big deal. Now, Luna Luo had personally clarified the matter to Sophie Song, telling him the notes were nothing but lies. Over there, Luna Luo had finished her conversation with Sophie Song. She looked up and happened to lock eyes with me from a distance. Her gaze faltered, and the tip of her nose turned slightly red. She lowered her head in confusion, turning to leave when suddenly she stumbled, nearly falling. Watching Sophie Song steady Luna Luo, Spike beside me clicked his tongue in displeasure. He muttered loudly, "Such a fake sweet act." All innocent looking on the surface, with that sickly sweet voice. Who knows what she's really like behind the scenes? Luna Luo clearly heard him, her back stiffening slightly. I swung my backpack off my shoulder and smacked Spike hard with it. What the? The 6-foot-tall Spike yelped, raising his hands in alarm. He whined, "I thought you didn't like her? She accused you of stealing money at the school gate before, and now she's pulling this act. How can you just take that?" I glared at him. One thing has nothing to do with the other. I don't like her, but I know what kind of person she is. She might have made mistakes, but that's no excuse for you to spread nasty rumors about her. Spike looked utterly wronged. Come on, how is that even a nasty rumor? I said coldly, "You know exactly what you did." Many words may seem normal, but when used to judge the opposite sex, especially when boys judge girls, they take on a whole different meaning. This is the most insidious form of slut-shaming. Whether it's about having large breasts or a sweet voice, the same logic applies. Spike muttered, all right, I'll be more careful in the future. Now, I get why you and the captain get along so well. After midterms, I performed exceptionally well and felt confident I could make it into the top 50, meaning my name would be on the Hall of Fame. Early morning, while brushing my teeth, I suddenly got a call from the class president. Her voice was frantic. Leo Lee, whatever you do, don't come to school today. I rushed through the school gates and immediately saw a dense crowd gathered around the Hall of Fame. As I approached, many cast strange glances my way. They silently parted, creating a narrow path for me to reach the Hall of Fame. My heart was pounding violently. When I stepped forward and saw the photo plastered on the wall, my breath caught in my throat. The photo captured a girl lying sideways on a bed, fast asleep. The girl in the image wore a revealing silk pajama top, exposing a vast expanse of pale skin on her chest, even revealing a suggestive cleavage. Though the upper half of her face was blurred in the photo, everything from her facial shape, lips, to the small mole on her chin unmistakably told everyone that girl was me. A chill ran through my entire body. Before I even realized it, I had rushed forward and torn the photo down. The photos had been posted in every corner of the school. Coach Ban mobilized the entire class to clean them up during gym class. I took leave and hid in the teacher's office, waiting for the results of the surveillance footage review. However, by noon, all I received was Coach Ban's apologetic gaze. He said, the cameras only caught an outsider who climbed over the wall. He was wearing a mask, so his identity couldn't be confirmed yet. This incident has caused significant negative repercussions. The school will undoubtedly enhance security measures and conduct thorough investigations. I nodded numbly. After the midterms, the routine grade-wide assembly was held. Principal Miller stood on stage, dressed entirely in black, as if mourning someone. After commending the top-performing students, Principal Miller cleared his throat. Before we conclude this assembly, there's one more matter I'd like to address. Recently, a female student's chest was shamelessly plastered across our school premises, causing an extremely damaging scandal. At that moment, someone sneered in a mocking tone, "That big? Must be thunder tits." Some burst into laughter. Others shouted in anger, but I just clenched my fists, biting my lower lip until it turned white. This was a public execution. I knew I shouldn't feel ashamed, yet I couldn't stop myself from lowering my head. How unlucky I was to attend this godforsaken school. I should have drowned myself in the sink the moment I got that warning call from the class president. Principal Miller roared, "Silence. Such disgraceful behavior at your age. Instead of focusing on your studies, you're obsessing over a girl's chest." I knew Principal Miller's words weren't directed at me, yet I couldn't stop myself from trembling uncontrollably. Why? Why me again? Just when everything was starting to get better? Why did this have to happen? The students in the audience buzzed with discussion as Principal Miller continued his loud reprimands, creating complete chaos in the hall. Suddenly, Luna Luo from the row behind me shot to her feet with a scrape of her chair. Her voice quivering but loud, she declared, "Principal Miller, those were my breasts." A stunned silence fell over the entire assembly. Countless eyes converged on her like high-intensity spotlights. Luna Luo faced them all. She was nervous, but her back remained straight. Principal Miller blinked in surprise before adjusting his microphone. "Young lady, please take your seat first." Abruptly, the class president stood up from the front row. "No, Principal Miller, those were my breasts." Amid the escalating hum of shocked whispers, another girl in class, one who'd been mocked for being flat-chested, rose to her feet too. She stood tall with her head held high, even wearing a confident smile. "Principal Miller, I also have breasts." The principal pinched the bridge of his nose. "Fine, congratulations then." Suddenly, someone from class 1 next door also stood up. I heard Sophie Song's gentle yet firm voice. "Principal Miller, those are my breasts too." Faced with the valedictorian who had just received an award on stage, the principal was utterly exasperated. "Why are you getting involved? You don't even have. Principal Miller, those are my breasts. 1, 2, 10, dozens. More and more people stood up. Basketball team members, familiar or unfamiliar classmates, even many teachers. Countless people rushed to claim that the photo showed their own breasts. This undignified statement spread like wildfire, igniting a prairie fire of solidarity. Beside me, nearly all the teachers and students of Class 3 stood up, forming a protective wall against the rumors and gossip for me. Amid the rising chorus of declarations, I knew I couldn't stay out of it. Wiping my face, I slowly rose to my feet. Luo leaned over from behind and took my hand. This time, I didn't pull away. I took a deep breath, straightened my back, and declared, Principal Miller, those are my breasts. As the situation escalated, many teachers were called to a meeting, and the last class of the afternoon turned into self-study. I wasn't in the mood to study, so I took out thin strips of paper for folding stars. I wrote thank you on them before folding each into a paper star. I planned to give these stars to the classmates and teachers who stood up for me after school. Just as I was intently folding stars, a pristine paper airplane suddenly drifted toward me and landed on my desk. Amidst stifled giggles, I glanced toward the back door of the classroom. A few figures stood there. Someone nudged Sophie Song forward. Sophie gave me a shy smile, then gestured toward the paper airplane on my desk. Puzzled, I unfolded it and saw a line of neat, elegant handwriting. Leo Lee, want to skip class together? As Sophie Song and I slipped out through the school's back gate, I still couldn't believe this was happening. Why were we skipping class anyway? To give all the homeroom teachers a complete teaching career? I glanced at Sophie Song, then turned to look at Luna Luo and the basketball team members behind us. Just as I was about to speak, Sophie Song said to me, that photo was most likely taken secretly in your room. Who else lives in your house besides you? His expression was so serious that I answered instinctively. Other than me, there's only my Nana at home. Sophie Song pondered briefly. Family wouldn't do something like this, so we should suspect there might be a spy cam in your room. We need to go check your place. Southside District. I turned a key and pushed the door open. Sophie Song waited outside with the boys while Luna Luo and I searched the room. Sophie Song had told us to watch for any tiny reflective surfaces, but after searching every corner, Luna Luo and I found nothing. After a moment's thought, Sophie Song continued analyzing. Judging from the photo's angle, we should carefully check the furniture near the head of the bed. My gaze fell upon the bedside table. My nightstand was pristine, with only an alarm clock on it. Alarm clock? Sophie Song said. Hand it over. Let me see. The clock was compact, small enough for Sophie Song to hold entirely in one hand. He held the clock in one hand while covering its face with the other, blocking the sunlight streaming through the corridor window. Frowning as he examined it, his expression grew increasingly grave. There's a red light. It's a pinhole camera on the clock's face. Along the black line marking the 12 was an almost imperceptible tiny hole. Even in the shielded darkness, it took me several attempts from different angles to finally spot the faint red flicker within that black dot. A shiver raced down my spine to the back of my skull. So, while I slept, while I changed, this tiny I had been watching me all along. Suddenly, Sophie Song's eyes narrowed dangerously. His voice was ice cold. Leo Lee, go turn off the Wi-Fi at home first. They might have already realized we'd discovered them. Before I could turn off the Wi-Fi, a series of footsteps echoed from the stairwell. We looked up to see several burly, thick-necked, middle-aged men charging toward us with menacing intent. They wore white undershirts like old men. Some lifted their shirts to reveal beer bellies. Others were covered in tattoos, and one even brandished a metal pole. These were no friendly visitors. Among this group with faces screaming gangsters, I spotted a familiar face. My eyes widened. Mr. Thompson? The landlord rubbed his nose and stepped forward from the crowd. Girl, why'd you bring so many outsiders upstairs? Seeing the massive keyring at his waist, something suddenly clicked. I asked, Mr. Thompson, last time you entered my place unannounced to check the gas meter. Besides that, did you do anything else while you were there? Luna Luo beside me instantly connected the dots. He must have planted the camera back then. Otherwise, how could it be such a coincidence that they showed up right after we discovered the cameras? Mr. Thompson widened his beady eyes. Don't you dare slander us. You're just here to cause trouble, aren't you? Several boys immediately stepped forward, shielding me and Luna Luo behind them. Sophie Song pressed the alarm clock into my hands and whispered, "Call the police." Almost instantly, the burly men at the front lunged forward, trying to snatch the alarm clock from me while dialing the police. I watched nervously as the boys confronted Mr. Thompson and his group. The man holding the metal pole spat out his cigarette, but with a paw. He clapped Mr. Thompson on the shoulder and said bluntly, "Old Joe, go lock the building's main gate. There are no cameras in this building. Dealing with these wet-behind-the-ears sprats will be a piece of cake." Luna Luo reacted instantly, raising her phone with trembling hands. "Don't you dare try anything. I'm live streaming this right now. You think you can get away with assault? The whole country is watching." Mr. Thompson turned and headed for the stairwell, clearly going to lock the gate. My heart sank heavily. We were outnumbered and facing seasoned troublemakers. Anyone could see the odds were against us. Just as Mr. Thompson reached the stairwell, he suddenly ran into another group of people, frowning instinctively at the unfamiliar middle-aged man leading them. He demanded, "Who are you?" Luna Luo burst into tears of relief. Coach Ban. Behind him, in the hallway, what seemed like a group of faculty members had come out to round up the students. Coach Ban exhaled in relief upon seeing us and called back, "It's fine, we found them all." A student shouted a warning, "Teacher, we've got proof of the hidden cameras. They came up armed, trying to beat us and take the evidence." Eyeing the troublemakers warily, Coach Ban nervously pulled out the small megaphone clipped to his belt, brandishing it like a makeshift weapon. Swallowing hard, he blustered with false bravado, "If I let you lay a hand on my students, I don't deserve to be their coach." With Coach Ban's group blocking the stairwell, the standoff abruptly turned into a pincer maneuver. Trapped in the middle, Metal Pole sneered at Coach Ban. "You think you can play the hero looking like that?" Before the words faded, a veiny hand reached out from the stairwell and shoved Coach Ban aside. Out of the darkness stepped Coach Davis, the most inconspicuous P.E. teacher, standing over 6 feet tall. His muscles bulged everywhere. Even his jawline looked strong enough to kill 3 dogs in one bite. He smiled politely, looking down at the stunned Mr. Thompson. "Was that you barking just now?" By the time the police arrived, the scene was eerily peaceful, except for Mr. Thompson. The other middle-aged thugs had scattered like frightened animals. After giving my statement at the station, I finally calmed down, faced with ironclad evidence. Mr. Thompson reluctantly admitted to installing a spy cam in my room. He even revealed they had a local landlord group chat where they shared such videos and photos. Surprisingly, Ethan Zhang's name was right there in the text logs. A month ago, after I exposed Ethan Zhang's vile behavior, he had vented his frustrations in the group. For this reason, these righteous landlords, Mr. Thompson and his friends, decided to help Ethan Zhang, the young man who'd been wronged, get revenge on me. That photo was their handiwork. Since they had already disbanded their group chat and hadn't profited from the hidden cam footage or caused serious harm, the police, under state law, penalized the landlords with jail time, fines, and a formal reprimand. Luna Luo was deeply dissatisfied with the punishment. How is this fair? Truthfully, I'd anticipated this outcome when dealing with Ethan Zhang, so I took it in stride. His voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough for me to hear clearly. Watching the flood of comments under my PSA, "Beware of slumlord installing hidden cams in X building, violating tenant privacy." I silently turned off my phone. I patted Luna's shoulder. "It's fine. Maybe the laws aren't perfect yet, but they'll improve with time. Besides, Nana and I had been wanting to move anyway." Luna immediately got distracted. "Huh? Where do you want to go? My neighborhood's pretty nice." Amid Luna's chatter, we walked out of the police station. Across the street from the police station, our teachers and classmates were waiting for us. Sophie Song spotted me first. From a distance, his smiling eyes glimmered in the sunset as he gazed at me. Beside me, Luna Luo kept pressing. Zhu Guang, what kind of apartment are you really looking for? After a thoughtful pause, I smiled and replied, this time, I think I'll rent a place where I can keep a cat.